Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Baton Rouge section of the ISA meeting for April. We're glad to have everybody here. A few notes on the board. I don't know if we need any of that right at the moment, but I'm going to just make a quick introduction of Scott Hayes. We're running a little bit behind, and Scott is on.
Okay. All right. Thank everybody for coming. I appreciate everybody who came in person and everybody who's out there on the interwebs. We'll go through the topic in a minute. We had a last-minute speaker change. Simon Nguyen was going to speak on connectors and that, and his flight got tied up, so I am very last minute as your speaker. So I'll do my best. But before I get started, in addition to this meeting, we have some upcoming events. The analysis division is going to do their big deal for the area, and it happens to be in Baton Rouge this year on May 4th. So there's a link to that on our website if you're interested, and you can follow that to find out how to register for it. And then our next month, we're going to have 2 meetings in May. We're going to do a virtual only meeting on the third Thursday. Basically same time, same place if you're logging in, and then the awards banquet is going to be the following Thursday night on May 22nd. So those are kind of our upcoming meetings. They're all on the new website. Our Baton Rouge website is isabatonrouge.org. National is in the process of redoing their website, and to me it's a little challenging. But if you go check it out, you can kind of see what they're doing different. They're kind of trying to make it a little more customizable to where you get a little more user experience. But they're still kind of struggling with it. So for now we're still going to stay with our own website. And before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors as always. SetPoint, John H. Carter, Rawson, Alpha, Rawson Patel, Wicca, A Solutions, Wicca. I knew that was wrong. A Solutions and MTech. Really appreciate their support and all of that. So let's go ahead and get started. The presentation that I want to go ahead through, is the PID equation, right? If you're a controls engineer, you've seen this. If you're in another field, you may or may not have. But this big algebraic or this big calculus equation, everybody's seen and nobody understands. And when I say nobody understands, I mean nobody understands. There's a handful of people who really understand it. There's a lot of people who think they do, but it really is kind of behind the scenes. And then when you get into all the different controllers, everybody implements it differently too. So what I'm just going to take a stab at is the math is what it is, and it is the basis behind the code. But if you have some understanding of what the intent was, it'll help you in tuning. And it's real hard to tune a loop if you don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. So this is a presentation that I put together where I just kind of break down. These are the parts of it. This is how they work, and my best shot at it. So we'll take that shot. To explain it, I want to start off with a proportional only controller. So I'm just going to take that part of the equation that is the proportional only, which is K times the error, which is a gain times the error. Okay, go through. To me, the best way to explain it, especially since my programming background, is when pseudocode. It's just a little piece of code that you would write that would be what that equation is. So if you're going to write it as code, error is equal to the difference between set point and process variable, and then your output is just your gain times the error. Simple enough, right? You would think it's as easy as driving a car. So we're going to use that example of a car, and the car, your control variable, your output, is how far are you pushing down the accelerator. And that output we're going to define as an angle theta. So bigger theta, bigger you're pushing down on the accelerator. And your process variable is how fast you're going. So what we're going to define is when theta is 0, which is at some depression, you're going 25 miles an hour. But your set point, you want to go 55 miles an hour. So that's your error, the difference between the where you're going and how fast you want to be going. So that's the kind of the basis. And then what we're going to do is see how that reacts to the changes in set point, changes in speed with just a proportional only controller. So again, I set up this theta. Theta is equal to 0. It's on the spot. We're going 25 miles an hour. But we want to be going 55. So that difference between 25 and 55, that's your error. And then that error gets multiplied by a gain, Boom. That's how much your controller moves. Wham. You slam your controller, your foot down to the new set point. Your car responds. Goes a little faster. Your error gets a little smaller. Again, this error is multiplied by gain. And now you let back off the accelerator because your error is different. When you let back off the accelerator, what do you think happens? The car slows down a little bit again, and your error increases again. And this is that oscillation that you see from proportional only controllers because it's almost open loop. It is only looking at how far is my error, what my theta should be. There's no real cumulative effects. There's no respect to what it was before. And so you wind up with some offset. And there has to be an offset if you think about it. If theta's 0, you're going 25 miles an hour. If you want to be going 25 miles an hour, you're dead on it. But if you want to go anything else, there has to be some error for your theta not to equal 0, which is why you never get to set point. You always have that little difference. A proportional only controller is not going to get you from 25 to 55. It's going to get you from 25 to some stable spot that's closer than you were. So, which doesn't make any sense, but it's how it works. So that's proportional. Now, to get you there, you need integral. And integral, an integral is a calculus function, right? The little squiggly S thing. You think, even if you know integrals, right? I had calculus in college. I had, my daughter is now going through calculus again, so basically I'm having calculus again. I understand integrals, but I can't solve the integral for a function in a PID controller because what is it? 0 to what? How fast are you moving? There's no way to find the area under that curve. It just doesn't make any sense. So you have to think of integral not as integral, but as that summation. It is, you keep adding a little bit. You're adding a little bit more on the pile. You're taking a little bit more error, and you're putting it on the pile, and that slowly moves your controller. So you also have to rewrite it a little bit. We kind of slid through the slides, but that's okay. You'll notice that the K, there's 2 Ks, because the classical form of the equation, the big, long integral formula, has a separate gain for proportional and a separate one from integral. But when you get in the field, there's only one knob. There's one K knob. There's one time knob. That's because most controllers in practice use the dependent form of the equation. The same K gets applied everywhere else, and then a time constant gets used to separate out the amount of integral. That's the T sub I. So basically, it actually makes it a little more complicated when you're trying to tune it because your K affects both proportional and integral at the same time. But it's just how things are. So change the equation to where it's a sum. Now you have one K that gets applied to both, and then a time which gets divided by the integral. So when you put that in pseudocode, now it's still relatively simple. Error is still set point minus process variable, but you're gonna have a variable that's gonna store this sum, and this variable is reset. So your reset is equal to what it was before, the scan before, plus a piece of that error. K divided by tau times an error. So you take a little bit of that error, you throw it on the pile, and then that reset gets added to the output with, again, K times error, which is the same proportional integral. So the example we're going to use is the same example, and we're going to use the same car, same theta, same speed. But now when we start off, again, 25 miles an hour, same error, theta's at 0. We're going to take a little piece of that error, and we're going to put that into the reset register. We go to proportional. We got, that little piece of reset gets put on, but then you have the same proportional amount. So you have the same error and the same proportional gets amount. You mash down the accelerator the same way. You mash it down, you start going, you start to speed up. So you speed up, error gets reduced, and it all follows the same way. So your proportional part acts the same way. Big error, big mash down, little error, I'm going to pull back up. But your integral part, your reset register, the longer you stay below set point, a little bit more gets added. Another piece gets added, and that eventually brings you up. So you still have the same oscillation from proportional, but like I said, that reset, you can see it just continues to build just a little bit. And so that kind of works out. That integral only, like if I think of, if I'm getting water in my bathtub, right, and I got my hand under the faucet and I want it to be hot, I'm really almost an integral only controller. I feel it, How is it? I'm going to add a little more, add a little less, and make it respond. And when I first started looking at this, I thought that was the proportional component, but it's not. Proportional is kind of a quick knee-jerk reaction. Integral is that part that slowly, kind of builds over time. So as they build up, as you see, the what happens is integral takes over and gets more and more of that reset, and proportional, diminishes, and that's what actually ultimately drives you to set point. But when you're tuning, you can't say, oh, well, I need less proportional. I'm just gonna back out the gain, because like you see in the equation, that same gain gets applied to both. So when you're tuning, K is gain. K is that initial. You get that proportional kick. It's at first, and then the integral amount is how long it's going to take there to get there over time. So that's proportional and integral. Go ahead and click again. And we'll talk about derivative too, since we got a little bit of extra time, and I'm talking so fast. and believe me, there's plenty of time for questions, and so we'll get questions in the end. But in the derivative example, we'll go through, and the derivative part of the equation is, again, it's a whole lot of math, right? If you just look at the math, the math is KD, K times, D sub E over dt, which is the derivative of the error. What that really means is how fast is the error changing? Did it just change real quickly, or did it just change a little bit? And we'll show that out in an example. So again, go ahead. We're gonna change it to a different form of the equation. Again, the same error gets applied to derivative as applies to proportional, but you have a different time constant for derivative, so you get to pull that out. When you do the pseudocode, again, same set point, same error, same process, same set point. Your output now is that proportional piece, K times error, and then now you're going to take a piece of that change in error. So error minus last error, and then we just record last error so we can use it again. So this whole delta T sub E really is just what was my error a scan ago minus what it is now. So it's how much did it change? How much did my speed change in my car? Am I going a little faster? Am I going a little slower? To show the example, this time basically I'm going to add a really heavy trailer to the back of the car. So it's the same car, same accelerator, same speedometer, but now it takes a little bit longer to get that car going. You're pulling a boat behind you. So again, we show it. Turn your volume down on your computer. You have same theta, same PV, same set point, same error initially, but we're gonna show this derivative component, what this derivative register is. So for your initial error, you get same proportional error, same proportional thing at the bottom. The green line shows that my error has not changed. I've been going 25. I'm at 25, so my derivative component is 0. We didn't have any change. But now that I mashed down my accelerator, it's starting to change. That car is starting to get going. So you see just a little bit of uptick, and then I'm going just a little bit faster. So my proportional doesn't change a whole lot, but my derivative is starting to show, hey, we're starting to speed up a little bit. Let's let off the gas just a little bit. Even though we're not seeing a lot of speed, we're going to start to let off. Then now, because I've been holding my accelerator down, that trailer's finally starting to get going. We're starting to get some speed. The error's starting to shrink. My proportional is starting to back off, but my derivative is going, wait a minute, we're really starting to get going now. We need to put the brakes on. We're seeing that change in error. We're going to pull back. We're actually going to let off of the accelerator, even though we haven't crossed set point yet. We're going to let off the accelerator because that rate of change is showing if you don't start setting off, you're going to shoot past 55 and you're going to get a ticket. Nobody wants that. So derivative actually drives you to lay off. Then again, it starts to slow down and it'll start to even out. Your derivative will slow back down. So anyway, very quickly, that's the breakdown of the different parts of that equation and how they affect. To me, the biggest thing that I learned when I researched this was that derivative function, I've always heard you use derivatives on fast loops, or you do things to speed it up. And the reason you do that isn't because derivatives make things go faster. Its derivatives put the brakes on things and allows you to use a faster gain and allows you to set your tuning faster, and your derivative will keep you from getting that ticket, from overshooting. So another way of looking at the equation is output, it's proportional plus integral to derivative. Another way I've commonly seen it said is that the proportional is equal to the error now. Integral is what the error was, and then derivative is what the error is going to be. So anyway, I hope this helps. It's like I said, it's very quick. It's very, very fast presentation. I did this as a blog post for Maverick. I also have done it as a YouTube video where I talk a little slower. So I'll provide links to that when if you're interested and want to see it again. So I'll put that in the thing. But that is the extent of my presentation. So I appreciate it. So we'll go into the interview part, and Harold and I'll talk a little bit. If you have any questions or if there's anything you want clarification on, please submit them through either chat or through chat to Brent. If you're online, it's probably the best way to get it in. And then if you're here in the audience and you want to ask a question or something, just walk up and tell Brent or write down a piece of paper. So, all right.
You want to catch your breath?
I'm exhausted. All right, we can see.
Do we have any questions?
Oh, for one thing, we need to adjust this a little bit.
There you go. Good. I'll do it.
All right. Okay.
I think we're better off if we hide the camera and don't break it. Okay.
No questions.
Tell me about Scott and how did he get into all this? So I'm a little
About me.
dazed by that presentation. And I don't know if it was all the equations or whether the speed that you went through it with.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When I get nervous, I talk a little fast. I don't know what you want to know. The reason I got into this presentation is I was actually working on preparing a loop tuning presentation, loop tuning training, and when I started looking into, I know the tuning rules, I know Ziegler-Nichols and the lambda tuning, and I kind of know the rules, but I realized I really didn't know why any of it happened, and so I kind of felt like there was a need for an explanation of what's really going on, and surely this math isn't so complicated that nobody understands it. I mean, I've had some background, so that's what kind of came out of. I built that as a blog post and then as a video. So and now it's a backup presentation since we needed a speaker today.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
What got you started in this kind of business?
Like most people, I needed a job. I have a mechanical engineering degree. When I got out of school, it was a downturn economy, and my grades were not stellar. So I went into offshore and worked on oil rigs and ran tools, and in doing that, realized that if I wanted to have a family, that was not the ideal life, but then started working with some of the technologies and basically discovered PLCs, discovered the Modbus protocol PLCs, and liked it and thought that it was that the field was a really good mixture of programming and engineering. I had worked as a programmer before in college and enjoyed it. Game programming was always neat and it was always fun, and I thought that controls was like a really good marriage of the two, and it's been great.
Excellent. What's been your biggest struggle with all of this?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Turn it around the other way, and the biggest accomplishment.
That's a good question. I worked at Georgia Gulf. I got to work with the operators a lot, and so it was they've changed now. They have more of a structured MOC process, but in the early days there was not. MOCs were not as restricted on the control systems, so I could pretty much, the operator could ask for something and I could almost deliver it instantly, and that quick response of, okay, they don't really like the way that something works and they're working with it every day, and being able to make a change and then make their life easier, make their life better was great, and it was very immediate, and that was a lot of fun, and that was probably some of the most successful things I've done.
People like it when you fix their problem.
Yeah, they do.
Looking into the future, what do you see as challenges for this business?
I don't know. To me, it's frustrating to me that we've been doing P90 Control since the 40s, and there's not a lot that's understood about it because a lot of the vendors all do it with their own little special tweaks, and they don't really add a lot of value. It's just obscurity. So it's kind of frustrating to me that we're not all on the same, we don't all run the same PID code. We don't all have the same tools for tuning, and everybody's not speaking the same language. I mean, to me, it's just an opportunity for improvement. I think it's something where if everybody understood it and if everybody was on the same page, then everybody's loops would run well, and everybody would be able to speak the same language about why it's not running. So, and now you have, because all the vendors do their own thing, it's very difficult to do that. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is getting the hardware vendors to kind of release some of their things that they consider proprietary that are really they're just hiding it for their own benefit. That's probably the biggest challenge I see.
It sounds like an opportunity for somebody to go in and do some standardization in the future.
Possibly. I don't know. We'll see.
It's like a lot of other things in the business, that it takes time to get people to accept that you can't do it your own way all the time. It has to be a little bit more understandable.
Maybe so.
If you were coaching young people, and what would you tell them about this career?
That it's a really exciting career. What I would tell them was that it's one of the few areas in engineering, in this area, in Louisiana and the Baton Rouge corridor, where you do things and those changes, you actually get to see your changes in place. If you're a process engineer or if you're a mechanical engineer, you may design a plant, but you may never see it run. Or you may, and if you're a reliability engineer, you're tracking things, but you don't necessarily always have the ability to affect change. I mean, sometimes they do, and I don't want to poo-poo their careers, but with controls, I can go in and make a change to a plant. I can tune a loop, change some graphics, and like I said, it's an instant change, and it makes their life better. And that's always been really exciting to me. And the skills are all within me. It doesn't require a lot of capital. It doesn't necessarily always require a lot of other buy-in from the plant. It's just, I know this should be run better, and I can develop a better scheme, and then it will run better. And I think that's fascinating.
You can see the results of it.
Absolutely.
That's a big part of it.
Go ahead.
We have a question from the audience, Scott.
Okay.
They would like for you to elaborate on the challenges of implementing the P90 math, which assumes a continuous PV function on systems that receive discontinuous signals, such as DCS.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you asking, or as I envision it, is the math of the, I think the assumption is that you're getting a continuous error, that you always know what that area is over time. But the DCS is discontinuous. You're only reading it at certain points. And to me, if you look at the math is kind of assuming discrete points anyway. You're not going to integrate over these unknown parts. You're going to have a certain cycle time. So your delta T is defined. It's from this cycle to the next cycle, or from when I got this reading to the next reading. Where I've seen it really challenging is if you're doing something like a weight scale, where your readings not only are not continuous, they're not even accurate. You'll read 10, 10.5, 10.7, and then it gets a new reading, and that's 15, 15.7, 15.8. So you can't even just apply a filter. it's it's scattered like that. The filters, I think, get used as a way of kind of smoothing the P90 out, and those are helpful. They unfortunately, in my opinion, is a lot of times they get overused, and you'll filter a signal instead of just applying tuning that you need. So and by filter, you're going to slow the time down. So if the pressure is reading all the time, filtering it means you're going to average the last 3 readings and report that, and then the next 3 readings. So you kind of even out the slope. But if you do that instead of tuning, you can really kind of degrade your performance, and you won't even know. So there's some challenges. I mean, there's some definite challenges, but to me, from the math perspective, it really is assuming discrete anyway. So it's just how it gets done. So that doesn't answer your question. Let me know.
Do you have anything else, Brad?
No.
Okay. I guess the last question is, what do you see exciting coming up in this field?
I mean, to me, by far, the most exciting thing and the most scary thing to hit controls in the last 100 years has been the internet, right? The ability to dial in, the ability to connect remotely, the ability to make changes is awesome, and it's exciting, and it's led to some great things. You know, we're now able to work remotely. We're able to work on, I don't have to be in a plant to work on something, but of course the big danger is if I can do it, then why can't that bad guy do it? So cybersecurity, is a real threat. It's a real issue. ISA is taking steps. Individual plants are taking steps. There's a lot of activity there, and it's a real threat. Unfortunately, sometimes it's a blunt instrument, right? If your IT department just doesn't want to do it, well, they'll just throw up cybersecurity as, well, we can't let a hacker in. We can't do that. Well, if a bank can move your money around, surely there is a way to allow secure access. It's just a big challenge. So to me, that area of people being able to get into your control system to help you versus people being able to get into your control system to hurt you is by far biggest challenge, most exciting, biggest opportunity that's coming around.
All right, very good. Does anybody here have any questions?
A career-related question. What's been the most rewarding experience you've had in your instrumentation career?
Okay, that's related. What was the most rewarding experience that I had in my career? And this is one of those interview questions. If you know me, you've known I've changed jobs a few times in my career, so I interview a lot. When I get this question, the answer that I have is really, it goes back to the first job I had. When I was in college, I was a drafter. I did AutoCAD drafting for an engineering firm, and we were using a package to do P90s that really wasn't very good. It was before the age of smart plant and all that. This was just a P90 package, and I went to my boss and said, we can do better. Give me a chance to write something that'll allow us to do these faster, and they gave me that opportunity. And what came out of that is I was writing code that the rest of the drafters were then using during the day. And every day I would meet with them. What did you like about what I did? What didn't you like? They would let me know, and then that night I would make the changes, and then they would see them the next day. And it was great because it was that immediate, I'm helping you do your job better and all of that. And like I said, I've found that a couple of times in controls as well, but it's never been as immediate. That was really rewarding and a lot of fun, and it's part of still why I do what I do today.
Excellent. Very good. Anybody else have a question?
I teach the PID portion in our curriculum at ISA, and we cover extrapolation and interpolation. Is that still current information that's out in the field that maybe I need to adjust my presentations if it's no longer a factor, or still considerations that y'all make in that respect, time derivative wise?
Okay. I got to be honest, I don't know what you're talking about.
Where you're going to be from the test points from now to previous, and they're going to change.
Okay.
Conditions, variables.
Yeah, so what she was asking was, she said when she teaches P90 control that you teach extrapolation and interpolation, right? So again, yeah, I wrote this, but to say that I'm an expert or up on all the fields, might be a stretch. My interpretation of that would be the derivative. You know, when you take the derivative, you are extrapolating. You're looking at where is that point going to be, even though you don't actually calculate the point. That amount of change is that prediction. So that to me would be the extrapolated part, and then interpolation. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's kind of the average of where you were. Which, if you're using reset all the time or using filters, it'll kind of cover those smooth lines. So that I think that's where it would fall. I have not seen those terms used in any of the texts around P90s that I've seen.
No, I've had to go out and do my own research to develop that in my curriculum.
Yeah. So I have not seen it. So. Okay.
Anybody else?
Okay. All right. Okay. So I guess we're done with that section. I want to again, I want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate it. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to talk. Again, I know I talk fast. It's a fault of mine. If you had some interest in what I was saying, but I was saying it too fast, go to the website. There'll be this recording. I'll have a link to my YouTube video, and there'll be some more information, and you can take it in at a little slower pace. But I do really want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Deborah for bringing the students from IT. I really appreciate that. It's good to see students here. That's part of what we're trying to do is educate people and bring people into the field. So if you're interested in you have a PE license and you're interested in PDH credits, go to the website. There'll be a short quiz on this. I promise the questions will not be very hard, and that'll guarantee that you attended the class, and then we'll get you a certification credit. I want to apologize. I have not done the certification forms for last meeting. We're still kind of working the kinks out, but we do have records of who was here, and if you do the website even for the last meeting, you're welcome to do that, and we'll put those out. So again, thanks to our sponsors, and hopefully we'll see everybody at the dialing into the May virtual meeting. Sign up early. We only have 25 seats, so if you're gonna set up a conference room and invite some people to May, let us know. If you're going to be just dialing in on your own, just let us know. But like I said, there's a limited number of virtual seats to that meeting, so sign up early for it. And then if you can come to the awards banquet, I strongly recommend it. We're going to have a good speaker. It's a good recognition for some of the students, so it's really a good thing if you can make it. So again, thanks everybody for coming, and we'll talk to y'all later.